from diverse professional backgrounds. He held a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Andalas. Mr. Alvin, also an experienced coach, having led multiple online courses and webinars focused on internal audit, GRC, and related fields. His expertise in and dedication to the industry make him a respected figure in the field of risk management. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's give you a round of applause for our moderator in this discussion, Mr. Alvin Novalino. The time is yours.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So it's honored to be here and good to be back on this stage. So welcome to our session on how GRC, ESG, and AI support the SDG. Did you know that the use of AI is becoming massive nowadays? It goes far beyond simple tasks like translation or grammar checking. For example, AI can be applied in agriculture to predict water and fertilizer needs, helping plantation operate more efficiently, reduce costs, and minimize environmental impact, which directly support to the UN SDG, such as SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 12, Responsible Consumption and Production, and SDG 13, Climate Action. However, as with any innovation, there are also risks, ranging from high costs to technical reliability. In the context of GRC, organizations need to ensure that AI adoption is well governed, risks are properly assessed, and compliance with regulation and ethical standard is maintained. After all, risk is not only about potential of problems or opportunities. The real challenge we must ask is, can AI deliver sustainable value while balancing cost, risk, and compliance? So today, we are fortunate to have three distinguished speakers who bring expertise from governance, sustainability, energy, and technology. Together, we will explore how these elements intersect and how business can harness to make meaningful power toward the SDGs. Without further ado, allow me to introduce our distinguished speaker. So, first one, we have Bu Joan Flynn from ESG Institute. She's an Asia-based keynote speaker, board advisor, author who helps senior leaders integrate purpose, profit, people, and planet into strategy and execution. She served as a chair of the SDG Institute in Singapore, where she guides boards and C-suites on profitable science-based transition path to a net zero and nature positive economy. Please welcome Bu. Give all an applause, ladies and gentlemen. She's also a former country head of financial service consulting at PwC Thailand and head of change of the IT executive committee at DBS Bank. Bu Joan brings more than 3 decades of experience in large-scale transformation and governance to her advisory work. She co-founded the Change Leader, a global network affiliated with HAC Paris and Oxford Said Business School, and lectures on government and ethics for CPA Australia. Wow, so wonderful. Give me one more applause to Bu Joan here, please, ladies and gentlemen. So the next speaker, we have Bu Kahvia Hasbi from Telkomsel Ventures. She's a legal governance specialist with over a decade of experience in M&A, venture capital, financing, and technology law. She currently serves as VP of Operation and Governance at Telkomsel Ventures, where she plays a strategic role in regulatory compliance, corporate governance, and organizational development. Previously, she was head of legal at MDI Ventures and Metra Digital Innovation, where she led legal structuring for fund management in Singapore. And last but not least, we have Pak Firman Darmawan. So Pak Firman Darmawan is a seasoned professional with over 32 years of experience in sustainability, risk management, energy transition, project management, and procurement. He currently serves Head of Corporate Sustainability and Risk Management at Micro Energy International, where he leads the company ESG, climate change, and risk strategy. So, thank you so much for coming, all of the distinguished speakers. Okay, so without further ado, maybe we can give to Bu Joanna first for the presentation. Please welcome.
Wonderful. Firstly, thank you very, very much for inviting me and for the warmness of the welcome that each and every one have given me. It's like every time I come to this community, my heart lifts. So thank you very, very much for that. So here we are, governance, risk and compliance with digitization, AI, SDGs. I don't know about you, but do you sometimes get lost in the alphabet soup of all the different initials and acronyms that we have here? Now, I wanted to make sure that I could help at least one person in the room, so I bought a copy of Green Sight with me. And if we do have time for questions, the best questioner will receive a copy of Green Sight. It is, in fact, a peer-reviewed book. The Ford is written by a senior professor from the University of Oxford, and McKinsey's and the Singapore Institute of Company Directors also reviewed the content to make sure it was up there, useful and relevant for business leaders like yourselves. So, yesterday, Peter was gracious enough to share this particular image with you. I wanted to bring us back to the fact that we have a planet who has, let me rephrase that. The planet has been around for 5 billion years, and I'm pretty confident the planet will be around for quite a long time. The question is, what's healthy for human beings? And what science has identified is 9 boundaries beyond which human civilization, our lives, are comfortable. So, as you can see from this wonderful diagram, officially it looks like 6 out of the 7 boundaries have been breached. But just 2 weeks ago, I was reading that updated insight on ocean acidification has indicated that as far as the scientists are concerned that monitor this particular system, that is also, it has exceeded planetary boundaries. So that's 7 out of 9. So when we talk about sustainable development goals and the SDGs and climate change is just simply the first one, vertical on this one. The way we deal with the environment and nature is a second major one. How we're using land and acidification and deforestation is another one. Our use of fresh water and other water is an issue. How we use agriculture and use nitrogen and phosphorus is far exceeded what the planetary system can bear. Ocean acidification is science speak for as the oceans get more acidic. Some of you might remember the days when we used to go and put facial creams on that had fruit acid. The more acidic the ocean is, the harder it is for shellfish, for fish to maintain their exoskeletons and scales. So the productivity of life in the oceans dies down. And for a region like Indonesia, where there are thousands of islands and so much of the food is based on the sea, this has got very, very direct impact on food. Now let's talk about the top one here on the right-hand side. Novel entities. Novel entities are things like plastics, DDT, and all these other new, novel from the French word meaning new things that we have developed as humankind. Some of you might have been tracking the plastic treaty that has been pushing through significantly. Sadly, there's still a way to go before that's agreed. But one of the key scientific findings is that's pushing for this is that as the level of plastics in these novel entities increases, what we're also finding is that the ability for human beings to reproduce is decreasing. which is a tragedy for any family who's looking to have children because it's got incredibly far more difficult because of these sorts of external things. Now, some of you will say, Joanne, that is a real downer as a way to start a talk. I want to highlight the hole in the ozone layer. Some of you may remember that from your younger years. My family comes from Tasmania, so I know the hole in the ozone layer. I would go outside in the hot sunshine. Here in Indonesia, I can be outside for half an hour and my skin is fine. In Tasmania, I would go out for half an hour and the sun would burn down and I could be outside for 5 minutes before it would hurt. Now, I highlight this because it's the one space that's still the greenest, that's still in the best state. It is the one where we had a intergovernment agreement called the Montreal Protocol that has been progressively signed on and enforced globally. And it shows that when we in business and we in government get together and act concertedly, we can make substantive changes at planetary levels. So I hold that up as a moment for hope. And I also want to commend with the work that's being done here in Indonesia, because when you had the courage to go and look at the taxonomy and identify the different industries and actually highlight that only a tiny fraction were currently green and that amber did not mean go, you actually really lifted the conversation around Asia and the world. Because it's not just what we do with one of these, it's what we do across is going to make a difference to our future. Now let's move on. The Brussels effect is a very useful effect to be taking into consideration. This morning we have heard significant actions that are happening here in Indonesia for state-owned enterprises and for businesses. These are some of the regulations that are happening around the world. Many of them coming out of Europe, hence the term the Brussels effect. But for anyone who comes from the digital side of things, you'll be noticing how much that has translated across as a global thing. Now, in the short time I have, I'm not going to go into any particular detail. The core takeaway I'd like you to have is this. Right now, we're getting into the second half of 2025. In about 1,000 days, about 3 years, pretty much every single one of these is going to be operating for global businesses. Some of these ones, for example, CSDDD, the due diligence directive, requires companies that have significant economics in Europe to verify their entire value chain, which means any business in Indonesia who is selling to a business in China who sells into Europe is going to be affected by this within the next 3 years. Now, I know that Furman is going to be talking about some of the things that they've been doing. They're early adopters. They are in better place to be able to respond to this than others. And I know that we've got people here from Allianz and some of the things that they're doing in terms of working with companies so that their companies that they insure can move faster is only accelerating this. It's improving the bottom line for Allianz, and it's also improving the bottom line for the SDGs and the planet. So this value chain construct that comes through in the protocols and the regulations is actually powerful for us because in business it gives us a common frame of reference to move forward faster. Now let's go and put AI in the picture. So we have the planet changing, we have regulations changing, and in a very, very short period of time, we now have 12 companies in the AI space that are worth over $500 billion. The previous round of technology transformation took somewhat longer than 12 years to get to the point of being worth $500 billion. It's pretty substantive. Now, what that means for some of the businesses in this room and for those of you that are working with some of the business is actually, it's not a question of going and saying, is AI going to disrupt us? It's going, AI will disrupt us. And our uncomfortable choices, if your business has a significant digital footprint and is digitally enabled, is actually to go and say, are we going to invest, as painful as that might be, so that we're still in the game in 3 years? Or are we going to try and survive and just keep up? Or are we going to acknowledge that we simply don't have what it takes to do it and accept that we're going to seriously struggle? And when I say seriously struggle, one will be out of business. I remember in the last digital revolution, working in Thailand, after which I became the head of the financial services consulting practice. We were working for one of the banks and we're putting in the equivalent of an ERP system. We took 7 floors of accounting down to half a floor. So the human impact of digital technology has been around for a long time. I think with the SDGs and ESG, we're far more humane in how we do it, and I think that's only more powerful for the businesses and people. But for any of you leading businesses, factor the fact that if you have a digital component in your business and your business structure, your competition is not someone who's out there already. Your competition is an organization who's got 20 smart people and $100 million and who's an AI native, because they are rebuilding entire industries in the way they're approaching it. So we have 3 major challenges on our plan. And so I give each of us a 300-day challenge. 300 days. If you're a billion-dollar entity, and say this assessment indicates to you that you have 20% of your revenue at risk, some of you as risk managers will be saying, Joanne, I think you're being slightly conservative, but we'll do 20% as a starting point. That's $667,000 a day at risk. Just to put it in seriously direct financial terms, to convert these big picture trends into what it actually means from the point of view of capital at risk and run rates. So your decision is, are you going to take an approach that's going to take you 3 months or 3 quarters, or are you going to find approaches that accelerate what you do so that you're operating in 3 days? This requires a very different way of approaching risk and a very different way of approaching governance. It requires a different way of framing forward-looking risks and how we respond. And yet the data that we have in front of us says that what I've just shared is as real as anything gets, but it is not hindsight data. It's foresight, insight. So let's just keep it super pragmatically. What we have is a daily run rate that when we multiply it up, gives us, to keep it simple, 2 major options. You could take 100 days to assess and plan, or you could find frameworks and work to say, how can we take 3 days to assess and plan and then get on with implementing? Pragmatically and financially, there's a significant difference. A 100-day assessment and planning delay is 600,000 times 100 days. That's $67 million at risk. If, on the other hand, you go, it might not be perfect, but it gets us insight and interaction far faster, and you go and spend $165,000, which is not tiny money, but it's significantly less than 67 million, one is in a very, very different place. And the reality is, roadmaps exist, they're fast, and they're effective. And then, if you want to get adventurous, what you can do is go and say, we know it's not just about our business, but as some of the other businesses in this room have identified, it's about what are the businesses in our ecosystem doing. Calibrate what your business partners are doing. Look at them and see where they're at. Now, I'm sharing some data from some research that we've done and one of the reviews that we did with one of the portfolios that we help work with. And what you can see here, the red in that particular organizations group was identifying that something in the order of 36% of the organizations simply hadn't got started. If you've been in business, you know that starting from a standing start is hard work and it takes a lot of energy. The businesses that are in the brown, those are organizations who've at least made a commitment, but they might not have a lot of plans in place. So they are at risk at greenwashing, and your question would be, if you're in business with them, are they acting rapidly to plan and give you early indications of success? And then what you see in this particular portfolio is 36% of organizations are saying the gold is organizations that are going, we have solid plans, we're able to prove progress so that we're compliant with what's happening at the global level of regulations. We're going to be compliant with what's happening in terms of local needs and the SDGs and ESG. So they're complying to the needs of the future. And then last but very importantly, are the organizations that we look at and we say, you're transformers or definers. You're seeing the commercial opportunities, you're forward investing to be the ones who are going to be in market, ready to turn back when a customer comes to them and saying, you know what, we have to select. We're wanting to review our customers and our suppliers to see who is actually ready so that when we do our sustainability reporting, so that when we look at the impact we're making, we're doing more businesses with organizations that are designed for this future success and significantly less with organizations that are still watching and pledging. So with that, I thank every one of you in here who's a transformer and any one of you in here or knows of organizations that are still pledgers or observer. My wish is that you get in action swiftly. Thank you.
Okay. Such a great insight. So especially for the 3-day challenge that you mentioned about decision making in approaching risk and governance, as well as how we respond. Wow. Okay, once again, give a special round of applause to Joanna, please, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, now, due to the time limit, we will proceed to the next speaker. Please welcome Bouquet.
Thank you very much, everyone. Firstly, I want to thank for the committee to invite me here so I can stand or sit in front of you to present about what Telkomsel Ventures has been doing. But firstly, I think I will give my presentations by standing up and moving around because that's what I like to do because I want to give you an attention of what I am talking about. So, allow me to inform you about Telkomsel Ventures. Many of us maybe don't know what Telkomsel Ventures is. Telkomsel Venture is a venture capital arms of Telkomsel. However, it is not only just giving a financing for startups, not only just giving the investment for startup, but also for having a value chain for Telkomsel itself. You know that the telco company here is at risk now. The telco business all over the world are at risk because what? Everyone is already have a phone, right? Everyone already have their data phone, their subscription for phones. Everyone has been doing that. So the market has already been done for telco company. So what are we doing now? AI is one of things, but actually there are a lot of things that is changing in the business, the digital transformations. So Telkomsel, with Telkomsel Ventures as a venture arms, we are doing as a periscope, as a telescope, to search for the new technology transformation, to search for the new technology business and digital business. What are we aim to do is that to expand our business and the market that is already been done for over these years. And can we move to the next slide? Sorry. So here it is. From investment to impact, and CVC's role in AI and ESG implementation. Of course, as a financial company, we are giving a finance, especially to startup and digital companies. And as we see, AI and ESG is a game changer in this business as well. For predictive analytics, for ESG risk management in corporate ecosystems, of course, we are using AI. We are using LinkedIn. We are using like ChatGPT. And our corporate, our employees are using DeepSeek as well. And not before the adoption of AI, actually we use IoT. IoT is Internet of Things. And we already, as a Telkomsel, we already have Veronica. Maybe some of you or every one of you already know Veronica. Veronica is a AI communications for Telkomsel that is we developed like years ago. That is not just today that we know about AI, but it's like AI 3.0, right? So in regulating the AI, in conducting the AI, we need to do the proper reporting and compliance as well. And also, maybe it is not shocking you anymore to know that AI is not only be used for LLMs. Like we, as a general people, know that AI, like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, that is AI. Actually, there are a lot of applied AI that we, as Telkomsel Ventures, already pipeline in our business. Some of our portfolios, they are TikTok, AsysX, and MyEcho. They are using the applied AIs in helping conducting or helping enhancing our business as well. Such as TikTok, they do the tagging for the private and public business for the malls to know if there is the crack in the buildings, if there is the early notifications, if the for something that they want to know about. And our leverage point as a Telkomsel Ventures in here is that we give capital, but not only capital, but also synergy and value creation to Telkomsel ecosystems. That's what we aim to do. Not only Telkomsel ecosystem, but also Telkom and Singtel as our parent company. That's what we aim to do, to scale up the business and scale up the ecosystem. And also, we give a portfolio alignment with corporate ESG strategic commitment. We give access to data and networks for measurable SDGs outcomes. But why now? Actually, like I said before, not only now. We've been doing it for years. However, many people only alerted now that globally adopted and widely accepted in increased company performance and tied to brand value. Telkomsel Ventures need to maintain our brand value. And it is very important to make the industry trust and for regulatory compliance. So, actually, I want to explain to you about our business from the investment strategy, portfolio monitoring, risk management, and ethics that we are considering in AI and ESGs. In our investment strategy, it is embedded, but I have to admit that we are not integrated it into our pipelines yet. However, in our playbook, in our SOP, it is already aligned with when we pipeline the startups, when we choose where we want to invest, we already align it towards them. And we consider also ESG matters into our due diligence system and the term sheet when we negotiate with the business partners, when we negotiate with the stakeholders, we embedded it into also in internal policy. And also, it is evolved. Since 2024, we have adopted SDGs value in our synergy co-creation. So we also consider in our calculation to Telkomsel synergy or value chain that it needs to be touched with SDGs goal. And also in our portfolio monitoring, engage with Telkomsel ecosystem to synergize and pursue AI ESG driven business, foster cross-portfolio collaboration for SDGs goals, like we have flagship programs. If audience here are doing the business, have your own business, that maybe we can connect after this, that to know about our portfolio monitoring what we're doing. But we have AI portfolios also that we are socializing that the needs of ethics in using AI. And also, not to mention the risk management itself. When we are doing investment, we are not doing it just to invest everywhere, just to spread and pray, like many VCs are doing like that. However, we need to embed the risk management before in our portfolio monitoring and our post-investment doing. So that's what we implement in our business as a Telkomsel Ventures. And also, last thing, I think we all agree that the AI have one big question, one big problem about ethics and the use of AI at work, the use of AI in our daily activities. Many people knows that if we use ChatGPT, if we input our data in ChatGPT, our data go to cloud, our data go to public. Nobody can claim that data because it will be made public. So if we use our work, or maybe in our daily work routines, we put maybe our secrets in our company, uh, which is very confidential, please don't. Because uh, the, the government can see through what you're typing in AI, what you're putting your data in AI. And it is the data privacy, even the data privacy uh, cannot help you to avoid that risk. So I think that is for me.
Thank you. Once again, please give a round of applause to Bouquet. So we have so many insight from her. From the presentation, we can see how the venture capital plays a strategic role in driving AI and ESG, as well as the GRC reinforced transparency, accountability, and as well as the AI related to the ethics things. Yeah, that's something very interesting to talk. And last but not least, we have one more speaker, to Pak Firman from Medco. The time is yours, Pak. Please welcome Pak Firman.
Thank you, Pak Alvin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please allow me to follow suit example of Bouquet to stand up, also to help the photographers to take a good picture. Very important for sustainability reporting. So thank you for the organizers for having me here. It's an honor sharing to the audience here about our 7 years of journey of discovery on sustainability. Yeah. So my presentation is titled Energy for Growth. That's actually the theme of Medco Energy this year, emphasizing context and also our mission in the field of energy and the importance of creating value from sustainability. So I will start with this slide. When we started off, there's a lot of references out there. Yeah, one of the challenges is how does all these buzzwords fit? How do they relate each other? Yeah, even the topic of this discussion is heavy. Sustainability is heavy, sometimes overused. Actioning sustainability is heavy. GRC is heavy word, ESG, and now AI. But how do they fit? So I find a lot of abundant resources out there. Yeah. Some that I like, some that I don't like. I actually like the left one, the circle one, because it explains the distinction between ESG and sustainability, which is often used interchangeably. It helps us to position ourselves, okay, where do we stand on this and how does it contribute to the bigger picture of supporting the achievement of the SDGs. Yeah. Second, also explains some of the relationships, and this is AI framework, how it impacts the SDG. We can argue about this, but I think most importantly, with all these references available out there, is to understand context. Because the context of where you are in your sector, the industry that you're in, will determine how you approach ESG, GRC, sustainability, and so on and so forth. So Medco Energy is an energy company that mainly operates in Southeast Asia, with some operations also in the Middle East. And our business sectors, there are three. So oil and gas, we grew up as an oil and gas company. We started off as actually a drilling service company and then become exploration and production. Still our biggest portfolio. Yes, we are one of the culprits of emissions, guilty as charged. We have also a power subsidiary. Now power is at the forefront of renewable energy. Yeah, so we have geothermal, we have solar power, we have mini hydros, we're looking at wind. And then the third sector is actually, we have a small investment in a mining company called Aman Mineral Nusantara, copper and gold. Copper being a critical mineral for electrification in the future. So in a sense, Medco, operating internationally, yeah, we are transitioning from not so clean energy to a cleaner energy, and that creates context. The countries that we operate in are developing, yeah, and development growth needs energy. So we are well actually positioned to support that. So energy is needed to support growth. Indonesia, for instance, we talk about the golden Indonesia in 2045. That requires abundant energy, right? And that's why there's a lot of predictions as in terms of energy trajectory. Fossil fuel will still play an important role. And remember, it's about decarbonization, not defossil fuelization. So we see in all the trajectories that fossil fuel will still play a role, but we do need transition. Again, the government also has its own NDC. So our mission, our context, is how to provide energy that's affordable, reliable, and sustainable. So addressing the energy trilemma. So we ask our stakeholders. Yesterday, Peter talked about materiality assessment, yeah, very important. So we ask our stakeholders, government, civil society, and our internal stakeholders. So if a company like Medco were to sustain, what are the things that we need to pay attention to? So it is a risk management process. Yeah. And they say, if you want to sustain, pay attention to these 7 issues. There were initially about 34 training issues at that time when we first did the materiality assessment in 2018. It was a single materiality assessment. We did another one in 2022, a double materiality assessment where we assess how we as a company impact the outside and how its outside impact us as a business. And the results are pretty much the same, yeah, hasilnya sama. First they say, pay attention to local communities. And then pay attention to labor practices and human rights. That's the S. Pay attention to transparency. You need to be transparent in what you do. Business ethics and fair business practices. And the energy sector is a heavily regulated sector. So pay attention to political and regulatory environment. That's the G. And then last but not least, pay attention to your emissions. Yeah, again, we are culprit of emissions, true. So with these 7 priority issues, we established our framework to reach our aspiration to be sustainable. So it's based on 3 pillars, just briefly explaining. So first is about the people. Yeah, basically saying that everyone in the company needs to be a leader. Leadership of and by our employees. Basically saying that the success or failures of sustainability of the company lies in the hand of our employees. The second one is where the E and S comes in. Yeah. And it says basically that not only do we want to comply, but we want to go beyond. Because we work internationally, not only are we exposed to the regulations of the host countries we operate, but investors, they have their own regulations to follow. And that trickles down to our operations. So it is important for us to be competitive in the private sector, to not only to comply, but also go beyond by applying or aligning ourselves to international best practices. Yeah. For instance, there's a VPHSR, which is the Voluntary Principles on Human Rights and Security and Human Rights. We are not a signatory. Indonesia is not a signatory. But the best practices is something that we are aligning to. Yeah, that's one example. And then the third one is local community. In response to the priority issues there, the highest one, Basically what we say, when we grow, we want the local communities to grow as well. So, and this is also in alignment with UN SDG. At the bottom there, as you see, the 3 pillars can only be achieved if we have strong foundations of governance. And that talks about systems, anti-bribery management systems, human rights, public policies, social economic compliance, supply chain management, very important now in addressing scope 3 emissions. Yeah. And then enterprise risk management. And with this, we developed this roadmap. The first one is the 5-year roadmap. You know, in the Soeharto era, we have GBHN, yeah, in Bappenas. So this is the mini GBHN for Medco. So first 5 years, pretty much about building the infrastructure that can support sustainability. So policies that are missing, we create. Policies that are existing, but maybe not so strong, we strengthen. One of the systems that we develop is the social management system. Yeah, in it, there is a grievance mechanism system, risk management system for security, and so on and so forth. So 5 years was really about building infrastructure. The second year, that's when we monitor our performance. And this is the result of the second materiality assessment in 2022. And interestingly, the focus is really about climate change. As you can see, there's just transition, yeah, and we have also target like emissions reductions, energy mix, and so on and so forth. But all of this is about creating value from sustainability. This is another milestone in governance, yeah. This is our climate change strategy. We have net zero aspirations in reducing our scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. Net zero by 2050. Why 2050? Because the Paris Agreement. We have to comply to that. If you're private sector, you're not in line with Paris Agreement, you're irrelevant. Scope 3, however, is 2060. Why? Because the Indonesian government net zero is 2060. And we have to rely on the ecosystem, again, value chain. And we developed this strategy based on a risk management process. I think yesterday it was mentioning about transition risks. So we looked at transition risk, regulatory risk, technology risk, market risk, reputational risks. Those are all transition risks. And then how do we manage the risks that we're already exposed to in terms of, climate change is already happening. How does it impact our assets? So we are now doing assessment as how much it would cost us to maintain those assets in the future. And these are the 3 pillars again: emissions reductions from current operations, how we transition to low carbon energy. But again, we realize that the trajectory means that fossil fuel still plays a role, so that we use growing gas as a transition fuel. Yeah. But still growing our renewable portfolio. And then how do we manage existing physical or climate risks? But this can only happen if you have strong enablers. Again, governance, data management, this is where I think we cannot talk much about AI at this point. We are at baby steps in AI, but that's where it's going to come in, yeah. We see opportunities in, for instance, predictive maintenance of rotation equipments. We see opportunities in identifying new reserves, for instance. So that would come in there. Transparency and compliance, very important. And then, of course, collaborating. It's a big and heavy issue. Yeah, sustainability, climate change, you cannot work alone. So this is another important aspect of governance in doing sustainability, because we need to be clear as who is doing what. Yesterday's sessions, we learned that the commitment at the top is critical. As you can see, this is managed at the highest level of the organization structure. The green ones are existing structure. So we made the conscious decision to use existing structure in terms of moving forward our sustainability, ESG, and risk management agenda. Because we don't want to have it as a committee or task force, because the entire organization has to actually move. So that's why we use existing organization and we capacitate them to work on sustainability. The blue ones are working groups. They are more coordinating roles, working groups, to focus on the climate change agenda. So governance, very important to understand everyone's role in the effort. Now, transparency, you remember there was a big issue. Be transparent in what you do. This, in the past, people think it's a marketing gimmick, sustainability reporting, greenwashing. But it's actually a main communication tool. Disclosure drives actions. And this is actually also an opportunity to convince the market, the stakeholders, to create trust. And every year, we audit our indicators, year-end indicators. As you can see, we started with 31, ended up in 2024 with 101 indicators out of the 125 indicators that we disclose. This creates integrity in the reporting. And we also try to align ourselves with the UN SDG. So we are very careful to claim in terms of, okay, we support directly in this target and so on and so forth. But what we do is that we align ourselves. Yeah, because there's several challenges in doing it actually. And you know, when we map our initiatives, it can go with all the 17 targets, but I think private sectors, they really have to focus. Yeah. Health and safety, very big in the oil and gas industry and energy industry, that we are in alignment with creating good health. Yeah. Affordable and clean energy, as I mentioned previously, at the core of our business. So these are the few that I give an example how we align ourselves with UN SDG. And this is the result. So this is a bonus for us. So we don't focus sustainability, GRC, ESG, and so on and so forth, just for the sake of getting good grades. We work with the philosophy of having a strong foundation to grow and to sustain. And these are the feedback from international rating agencies. So MSCI being one of the biggest rating agencies that's used by investors. As you can see, year after year, we've improved our rating. Same thing with CDP, mainstream in terms of emissions performance. Yeah, we are now at B. And B, so they told us that it's the best that you can be as an oil and gas company. And then we have received recently an ASEAN Risk Champion Awards 2025 for all the efforts we did over the past 7 years. So my final point in this is that value creation to sustainability is long-term. It's not quick. And the role of GRC, the role of ethics, ESG, is at the core of achieving sustainability of your organization. So I'll stop here. I give back to Pak Alvin for question and answers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak. So many insight, especially for gain perspective on how GRC framework can support ESG, especially in tackling climate change or something else. Yeah. Okay. Because due to the time limit, ladies and gentlemen, we only have one question that I will ask to each of the speaker. So all of you need to answer the same question based on your perspective. Okay. So looking ahead, what do you think? What is one key action each of you believe organizations should prioritize to integrate GRC, ESG, and AI in achieving sustainable impact? Maybe Bu Jone first. Time is yours.
Oh, the one, if I had a magic wand, is be very clear on your value system and use that as a filter for each and every decision around how rapidly you need to move, which is pretty rapidly, the impact you're prepared to accept in the process, and how do you mitigate it? And thirdly, how do you make sure those that are affected negatively get looked after in the process? And this is irrespective if we're talking the technology change or impact in the physical world. And that is the fundamentals that gives you good governance and good risk management.
Okay, thank you. Give applause, ladies and gentlemen. Next one, Bouquet.
Okay, from us, in Telkomsel Ventures perspective, I think when giving investment, we need to consider the impact investment in our portfolios. For instance, that we are giving attention more for a low carbon energy in our pipelines, and also we are giving attention more for governance and risk management. So that's from us.
Okay, another applause, please. And the last one, Pak Firman.
Yes, I think the competency is a big thing. So how do you capacitate the entire organization on all these trending issues? ESG, GRC, sustainability, climate change. Because without that competency, it's difficult to have a common language, basically. And yesterday, I think we heard about competency is the basis of good leadership to take wise decisions. And we see that as still as the main challenge. That's why Medco has actually a very ambitious capacity development program. We have an e-learning module program. The leaders are actually, they are registered to a certification program out there, you know, like Cambridge, Harvard, and so on and so forth. So that, with the aim to create capacity within the organization. We have an e-learning program. I think about close to 5,000 staff now have taken the program. It's e-learning so that you can easily reach out on 101 sustainability, climate change, and all the issues on SDGs. So I think capacity is the main challenge, and you have to be like, what you call it, a broken record, do it over and over and over again.
Okay, another applause, please. Thank you so much. So, as we return to our organization, I encourage all of us to reflect on one question. How can we align our governance, risk, and compliance, or GRC, practices with sustainability goals, while embracing AI responsibly to create lasting impact for both business and society? Because achieving the SDGs not only for global responsibility, it is also a leadership imperative for each of us. Thank you so much. I return to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you once again. Please give your biggest round of applause and please remain on the stage. Our speakers, our moderator, as we are about to have a token of appreciation session. And now I would like to invite in this special occasion, Mr. Victor Ryu Kaho, is chairman of GRK Association, to join us on the stage to deliver a token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers, Mrs. Joanna Filin, Mr. Kafia Hasbi, and Mr. Firman Darmawan, and also to our moderator, Mr. Alvin. Once again, thank you so much to all our speakers, Mrs. Joanna Flynn, Mr. Kafia Hasbi, and Mr. Firman Darmawan, for this very insightful discussion. And also our moderator, Mr. Alvin, for his adept moderation. Once again, give your round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And let's take a picture together. On my count in 3, 2, 1, and smile. Thank you so much. Please kindly to return to your seat. Once again, thank you, Mr. Victor Yukaho. Thank you, Mr. Alvin, as our moderator. And all speakers, thank you so much. Mrs. Joanna Flynn, Mr. Kafi Hasbi, and Mr. Firman Darmawan. Thank you so much for this very fruitful discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the next agenda, let me to inform to you that we have a 1 hour and a half break starting now, and during the break session you can attend the Friday prayer and also have your lunch. And for those who wish to perform the Friday prayers, available at tennis court at the same level with this ballroom, you can go just right outside the ballroom and you can ask our committee for the location. And for those who want to take a lunch break, the lunch will be provided in the outside area, at the foyer area by the Tentram Hotel Yogyakarta. And as for our online participant, please feel free to use this time to have your lunch and attend the Friday prayer according to your local time. And please feel free to make use this time as per as your preference, and we will resume our session promptly after the break. You could put your hair down for a while, and please make sure you're back in this Zoom meeting, you're back in this ballroom at 1 p.m. At 1 p.m. once again, please kindly to return to this ballroom at 1 p.m. because we have entertainment for you, and afterwards we will continue the seminar session. And also stay tuned, don't go anywhere, because at the end of the seminar we will have a withdrawal door prize. We have smartphone Samsung S25 Ultra and painting from Nayanika Art Gallery for the lucky two participants. Once again, thank you and enjoy the break time. And don't forget to back to this ballroom, back to the Zoom meeting at 1 p.m. to continue this agenda still on GRC Summit 2025. Thank you.